Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Where Are They Now? Today we are going to be covering Ezra Miller, somebody I have covered 8 times. 4 on the second channel, Omegon 2 Electric Boogaloo, and 4 times here. The reason I brought Ezra Miller to the main channel is because it did really well on the second channel, but this channel's bigger, so why not do the bigger topics where they would do better? For the sake of saving some time, I'm going to tell you the title of each video in turn and play a brief clip that summarizes it best, before we then catch up with what Ezra has done since we last spoke about Ezra Miller. The last video of which is titled Ezra Miller Shenanigans Finally Getting Honest Reporting, honest in quotations, which was released on the 26th of September 2022. The first video was titled Ezra Miller's Arrest.
Central 36, will be 10-7.
No, I got assaulted and I started filming. Okay. I can show you the video. Let's talk stories outside. Let's talk stories outside.
Ezra Miller, this is on the warrants, but he's caution code unstable, 29 Caucasian Hill.
I got assaulted in this bar twice in a row. I film myself when I get assaulted for NFT crypto art. What's your name? What's your badge number? Tell me your name and your badge number. White key.
Ezra.
Full name, full badge number. Tell me your name and your badge number. Tell me your name and your badge number. Please don't touch me. Tell me your name and your badge number. Now. Tell me your name and your badge number now.
136.
You?
Get off the road. Ezra, come over here. Tell us what happened. Oh, come back to the Where is he?
All the way down.
Holy.
Central 420, what are we doing? Central 131.
I'm being arrested for disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
I was assaulted.
Central 336,
Okay.
Well, you could have told us that instead of
Thank
right
you.
away and playing all of this theatrics. You could have
You're
just told us
on
that.
I'm sorry,
No, you're not
officer.
sorry.
You
You
can
could
just
have took this thing
sorry.
real quick.
You just taking somebody's
The
face.
guy in that bar declared himself as a Nazi. I have it on film and he attacked me.
Okay, so?
Can you guys start heading to?
There is, however, more context. Upon being arrested and searched, Ezra shouted, "I'm transgender non-binary and do not want to be searched by a man," along with saying those are Nerf guns, those are fake, they are a toy. Please don't take them from me. The flash ring means a lot to me. It's very valuable. Along with shouting, "Hey, you just touched my penis." The second, accusations against Ezra Miller. Parents say actors taking control of their daughter and ask court for protective order. Ezra Miller is not only a bad influence, they're a danger to the well-being of an 18-year-old woman, at least according to her parents, who are asking a court to step in and keep the actor away from her. According to new legal documents obtained by TMZ, Tokata Iron Eyes met a then 23-year-old Miller in 2016 when she was 12, and the actor was visiting the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota. From there, Tokata's parents say she and Ezra developed a friendship they believe puts Tokata at risk. Takata's parents say Miller flew her to London in 2017 to visit the studio where Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was filmed. At the time of the trip, they say Takata was 14, Ezra 25. As the friendship continued, Takata's parents claim Ezra supplied their underage daughter with alcohol, marijuana, and LSD. They claim Ezra disrupted Takata's schooling at a private institute in Massachusetts, so much so she dropped out in December of 2021. The third, Ezra Miller out as the Flash. Discussing film. Ezra Miller will not be part of any future DC projects after The Flash, regardless if there are more allegations or not. There has currently been no decision made on how to deal with their involvement in The Flash, with Ranting Monkey pointing out, "You redid the tweet because you got Ezra's pronoun wrong." There are articles that have been circulating from IGN and The Direct, indicating that Warner Brothers isn't likely to keep Ezra Miller in the Flash role in future DC films. The sources come apparently from within Warner Brothers themselves, with Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav and his teams heading towards a potential first movie crisis as The Flash's June 23, 2023 approaches. The fourth, Ezra Miller victims speak out. The Ezra Miller situation has taken a more disturbing turn. The woman then told Rolling Stone that she's found the home to be a healing haven for us after leaving an abusive relationship. However, two unnamed sources who spoke to Rolling Stone said that the adults on the property have been farming marijuana and smoking it around the children, despite not being legally allowed to do so per Vermont's Cannabis Control Board. Those same sources allege that there are a sizable number of firearms around the house, which include assault weapons. The fifth, Ezra Miller in even more trouble. Ezra Miller accused of more harassment, grooming, quote, "I was misled by an extremely manipulative actor." A new report also sheds more light on their relationship with Takata Iron Eyes and Ezra Miller's erratic behavior in Iceland, where they were filmed choking a fan. Ezra Miller's longtime music collaborator Oliver Ignatius has said that he observed inappropriate relations between the two in March in Hawaii, around the time of Ezra's 2 arrests. Ignatius also told The Insider that Ezra Miller confiscated Takata's phone, screamed in her face for wearing makeup, with Ignatius recalling Miller saying, "What the F are you doing? Putting on this effing clown paint." I think the fact that a catty comment made by a queer person about makeup being considered abuse is actually quite homophobic rhetoric, which is what Takata said in response. Ignatius said that he saw Miller at one point sloppily kissing Takata Iron Eyes, which she also then went on to deny. The sixth, Ezra Miller's troubles continue. The current producer for the Flash movie, Barbara Muschietti, my apologies for butchering your name, has said that all is good in Flashland, which has become a meme ever since, akin to sticking your fingers in your ears and going la 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 la, nothing to see here, as there is a burning fire behind you. Now, as we know on this channel, I'm not one to poke fun at people's appearance, but I did see an article by the Daily Mail who focused on that aspect. Exclusive. Scandal-plagued Ezra Miller smiles and lounges on mother's Vermont porch in first photos of the star, since it was revealed the actor reshot scenes for The Flash and a day after third arrest. Ezra, 29, now sporting a full mustache and longer hair, was wearing a white t-shirt and necklace. This is news, everyone. The seventh, Ezra Miller says sorry. Having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. How do you begin ongoing treatment? Ongoing treatment implies you've been on it for a while. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. Also, who really wrote this? It's one of the worst apologies I've ever had the misfortune of reading, because you don't address a single one of the accusations levied. It's all nebulous, which means it's open to interpretation, which in turn means we can evaluate your sincerity. And as I earlier said, the last one is titled, Ezra Miller's Shenanigans Are Finally Getting Honest Reporting. On the 18th of September 2022, Vanity Fair wrote an article titled Ezra Miller's Messiah Delusions. Inside the Flash star's dark spiral, Vanity Fair unearths disturbing new details in a saga of grandiose sermons, guns, drugs, and alleged assaults and grooming. Let me guess, you're about to write an article of things everyone else already knew, while trying to give off the impression that this is all fresh information. I'm almost certain there is going to be a Phoebe Buffet meme suitable for that particular remark. Ezra Miller did not, to put it mildly, invoke their right to remain silent. This past March, the actor was arrested in a tiki bar called Margarita Village in Hawaii after shouting profanities, spitting in a patron's face, grabbing a microphone from a woman singing karaoke. Miller claimed to have been accosted by a Nazi and had evidence. In fact, one of the first things you hear the actor say in the 3-minute police body cam video that circulated was, "I film myself when I get assaulted for NFT crypto art." Look, I was right. The article does do that. This should have amply covered and caught us all up with what it is Ezra did that got Ezra into so much hot water, and in turn got Ezra Miller a considerable amount of negative attention, which many had thought Ezra was feeding off, which would make some sense considering the accusations levied at Ezra Miller. This globetrotter, cult leader, showstopper, glittering star in the making, now dead in the water, had all the potential in the world to be something quite remarkable, but made some rather interesting poor decisions. So as far as Ezra Miller's career goes, not much has happened because we're still waiting on The Flash to be released next year. He did have a role in Daliland, but owing to scheduling conflicts, he was then recast in a flashback role of a younger character. Somebody who is actually in the Flash movie has said that Ezra will blow viewers away with their performance, being quoted as saying, "Honestly, it was so amazing for me to see that level of production and that level of creative freedom and scope. A lot of our scenes were improvised, and I think that it was a really supportive and creative environment." Further adding when asked about Ezra Miller, "What a remarkable talent. And I think what a brilliant Flash. It's just the perfect casting for the Flash. When the world sees that performance, they'll be blown away. I've always stood by Ezra Miller being the right person to portray the Flash. As an actor, they are very talented. That much is obvious. The issue arises when they're no longer in character, or when they're acting like a deluded character of a cult away from the cameras." Issa Rae has criticized the effort to save Ezra Miller's movies and career as a microcosm of Hollywood, being quoted as saying, "I'm gonna be real. The stuff that's happening with Ezra Miller is to me a microcosm of Hollywood. There's this person who's a repeat offender, who's been behaving atrociously, and as opposed to shutting them down and shutting the production down, there's an effort to save the movie and them. In this instance, I kind of understand why. The movie cost over $200 million to make. If you include promotion, it'll cost another $200 million. They need it to at least break even. And also, if it is going to be a part of DCEU, a reboot of it perhaps, they need it to work so they can build on it, and potentially do what is being suggested, which we'll get to in a moment. After something else concerning other criminal behavior, Ezra Miller was accused of breaking in to a property and stealing alcohol. He was charged with felony burglary. The person's home he's accused of breaking into is a neighbor of his. What astonishes me really is that while I know he lives in a farm, Vermont isn't the biggest and I'm sure there are shops not so far away. All they had to do was go and get some. Ezra Miller has pled not guilty to these charges. But if Ezra Miller is found guilty of this, no lie, the charge carries a sentence of up to 26 years. Granted, I don't think for even a second Ezra Miller is going to spend a second in any prison, male, female, or potentially we have to create a new one for non-binary. I think if Ezra Miller is found guilty, Ezra Miller will be fine and given some form of suspended and community sentence. Conditions that Ezra Miller has been given for the time being include being told to stay away from the person who owned the home they are accused of breaking into, as well as being ordered to keep a distance from another Vermont resident, Aidan Early, which Ezra has agreed to. There were 5 people on a list that Ezra has to stay away from. The police had said that when they'd investigated the burglaries, they'd had probable cause to charge the actor with burglary because the evidence collected included surveillance videos and statements. Oof. Now this was around the time when arrested, Ezra Miller had put out the now infamous apology, taking responsibility for essentially nothing by declaring that they were suffering from complex mental health issues. So what about the Flash movie? We've mentioned it, and there are still ongoing beliefs that the movie could potentially tank, could put a lot of pressure on Warner Brothers financially, and the reputation for keeping Ezra Miller as the Flash. Since Warner Brothers want to create a DCEU akin to that of the MCU, they are desperate to get things like the Flash off the ground and move it forward. The story we know involves Flashpoint, and that's quite an interesting thing because there is a possibility here being touted that Ezra Miller's role as Barry Allen could be recast for a second Flash movie, which tells us that the first is more than likely going to go ahead and be released at the end of June next year. Names that have been touted to potentially replace Ezra Miller include Grant Gustin, who plays the Flash on the CW, Dylan O'Brien, and Lucas Till. But there was one other name. The other is George McKay. Whether or not this happens or not, we're not going to know until the Flash movie comes out next year and we see how it is received. The Flash is a hugely popular character. It's why the CW version has gone for 9 seasons, well 8, and the 9th hasn't come out yet. And yes, I'm very much aware that most of it was shit, and that Ezra Miller made a cameo in it. The point is, there is a possibility Ezra Miller's career will stop going up, and Ezra is going to have to go down a few rungs on that ladder. A ladder that they were given and had their chance, and they blew it. Well and truly blew it.